G'day everyone and welcome back to our quadratic series for 5.3 mathematics. Now in this one we are actually going to be looking at factorizing monic quadratic trinomials. So this is a step up from our previous video. Our previous video had us just factorizing pairs of terms. In this one we are actually going to get stuck into some quadratics. And we're going to use monic quadratics to begin with. These are the ones where the coefficient is 1. So the coefficient of x squared is 1 for this monic quadratics. Now quadratics do take this form of x squared plus bx plus c. And then we look at our example a little bit here. We can sort of see what's happening. Alright, we can see from that expansion that mn gives us a constant term, which is c being the constant term. M plus n is the coefficient of x, or just straight x, and that's the b part of our trinomial form, and then obviously that's what's happening. It tells us that we should look for factors that will multiply to become the constant term, but will add to give the coefficient of the middle term. So what we're looking at is x squared plus m plus n. So we're just rewriting this a little bit. Plus mn. Okay, this little bit in here, well, that's b. This little bit is c, and then we factorize that out. We can factorize that out as x plus m, x plus n. Now, it probably doesn't look very clear at the moment, so let's look at some examples to see if we can fix that. Okay, so let's have a look at this first one. We have b and we have c. So our b is 8, so we're looking for two numbers that can add together to get 8. We are looking for two numbers that will multiply together to get 15. Okay? So add to get the b number, multiply to get the c number. So look at 8 and 15. Let's look at our factors of 15. Factors of 15, well, we've got 1 and 15, obviously, and then we've got 3 and 5. What do you know? 3 plus 5 will add to get 8. So we're going to have x squared plus 3x plus 5x plus 3 times 5. I might make that a little bit smaller so it fits in a little bit better. So that's what we're really looking for. So we're going to have x plus 3 and x plus 5. So we're going to take those terms out of our monic quadratic. So I'm not sure if you've quite grasped it yet, but let's look at our next one. Now we have minus 5. Our b number is minus 5. And our c number is plus 6. So a little bit different again. This time though, we're going to have x squared. And then we need two factors. We need numbers that will multiply to get 6 plus 6. We need numbers that will add together to get minus 5. Now you could go minus 1 and 6, doesn't really work. Minus 6 and 1, again, it doesn't work because we've got a plus 6, not a minus 6. So we're looking for potentially a negative 2 or a negative 3 with a positive opposite number. So if we go minus 3 times minus 2, well, we're going to get 6. If we go minus 3 plus minus 2, we're going to get minus 5. So if I do minus 2x minus 3x or plus minus 2 times minus 3, looking a little bit strange in there. That's not going to work because minus 2 plus minus 3 will get us minus 5. Minus 2 times minus 3 gets us 6. So we're going to have x minus 2 and x minus 3. And if you expanded that back out, you'd get what we just had written there. This next one, it's not exactly a monic trinomial because there is a coefficient for x squared. So what we're going to do here, we're going to remove the common factor. So this is going to be 2 outside of x squared. Now if I divide minus 10 by 2, I'm going to get minus 5. And there's our b number, minus 5. And if I divide minus 28 by 2, I get minus 14. And there's our c number. So forget about the 2 for the moment. And let's just worry about what's inside that bracket. Okay. Alright, so inside that bracket we've got x squared. And then we need two numbers that will add to get minus 5, multiply it to get minus 14. So my best bet is going to go minus 7 x plus 2x, and then that can be then minus 7 times 2 at the very end, gives us 2 outside of x minus 7 and x plus 2. Now this line here that I'm about to highlight is actually fairly superfluous. You don't desperately need that line in there. It's just a bit of an example of showing what's happening when you're working this out. Okay, you can skip from the top straight to the bit at the bottom, as long as you've got the right numbers in there and you've re-expanded it out to check. Now for our last one, back to a regular monic quadratic. This time though we have x squared minus 8x plus 16. So we know we have odds there, so both must be negatives, or both must be the same sign, but they do need to be negatives. Alright, so again, let's look at our superfluous line. We need numbers that will add to get minus 8. Well, that'll be minus 4 and minus 4, because they will also multiply to get 16. And that's what's happening. That's our little superfluous line. That's what we want to have happen. So we've got x minus 4 and x minus 4. And that actually becomes x minus 4 all squared. Okay, because it's a perfect square. Now these last two are actually quite tricky and difficult, so please pay special attention. For our first one here, we are actually going to factorize the top. Alright, so we have minus 1 and minus 6, so it needs to multiply together to get minus 6, but add together to get minus 1. So I'm going to use minus 3 and plus 2. Alright, because minus 3 times plus 2 will get us minus 6. Minus 3 plus 2 will get us minus 1. It's all over x plus 2. You can see there from above and below there is that common factor of x plus 2, which can reduce out, leaving us with just x minus 3. Now the trick is to use the brackets as a single term. Okay, use the bracket as a single term. Here's our next one. We actually want to factorize the bits and pieces before we do anything more. So let's look at our first one there. X squared minus 9. Well, that's difference of 2 squares. So we did that a little bit before in the previous video. So that's going to be x plus 3 and x minus 3. That's going to be our first one. Okay, x squared minus 2x minus 15. So it needs to add to minus 2, but multiply together to get minus 15. So we need one minus and one positive number, one negative, one positive. So I'm going to go with minus 5 because if I add 3 to minus 5, I'll get minus 2. And if I multiply them together, I will get 15 or minus 15. Then I'm going to go across to the other side. Here we go, x squared minus 4x minus 5. So we need it to add to minus 4, but times to minus 5. So I'm going to use minus 5. Use minus 5 and positive 1. Because what's happening there is that minus 5 plus 1, well, that's minus 4. Minus 5 times 1, well, that's minus 5 still. And then we have 2x plus 6. So that will factorize out to 2 and x minus 3. Now all we have to do is we look at the tops and the bottoms. Because we are multiplying these two fractions together, we can actually cancel across them. So this x plus 3, well, it cancels out quite nicely with this x plus 3. The x minus 3, well, it cancels out with the minus x minus 3 across the way. This x minus 5, well, it cancels out with the other x minus 5. And there's only one bit left over, x plus 1. And then the over 2, because there's still a 2 there. Okay, don't forget about that too. We're just left with x plus 1 over 2. Now, all we had to do there was factorize it out, get those extra terms, cancel or reduce out those terms, leaves us with x plus 1 over 2. So it looks quite tricky, but if you just follow those factorization tips, we're going to be fine. So, remember, you need the b equals numbers that can sum, and c is numbers that product will say. Okay, and they should be the same two numbers. Now, I'm not 100% sure how helpful that last bit's going to be, but if you need to, rewatch the video, check with your teacher if you have any other questions. Good luck with your set questions, and see you in the next video.